Hey guys, welcome back to AwelsTech. Well, I'm back again, and this time we are going to see how to create Linux EC2 instances and how to connect them. So without wasting much time, let's get started. Step 1. Log into your AWS Management Console, and once you are on the AWS Management Console, you will see these services. You have compute, you have developer tools, blockchain, storage, database, analytics, mobile, machine learning, etc. The topic of this video is EC2, so click on EC2 in order to create the instance. Now, to launch an instance, you can click on this launch instance button that you see here, or you can click on the instance and click on the button launch instance. I'll click launch instance and it will give me this option. Since I am doing this for testing purpose, for the video purpose, I'll select free tier only. It will list only the ones that are for free. I have Red Hat, I have Ubuntu 18.0, there's somewhere Ubuntu 16.4 as well, 14.4 as well. Let me go ahead and select Ubuntu 18.04. Click select. Now choose an instance type. You get to choose what type of instance you need. I'm going to select the free tier. However, you might need machine with a higher configuration. You might need some machine with like 4 vCPUs, 16 gigs of RAM, and then a network performance, let's say up to 5 gigabits. Then you got to select T3X large. If you scroll down, there are many other machines that could suffice your need as per your business requirements. So do check the ones that exactly meet your criteria before you go ahead and create a VM. On the left hand side, if you see, the segregation is done based on the storage optimized, on the memory optimized. For now, I'll just select general purpose, tier 2 micro, and click on configure instance details. On this page, I will leave these settings as it is. Just make sure that the network and the subnet are set to default, because this is the first time that I'm creating a machine on this instance. Let's assume that I haven't created any VPC, so whatever is set to default. When it's default, that means everything is open. I haven't hardened this environment or haven't set any firewall rules. That's the reason I am setting this default. And then click on add storage. By default, it adds a storage root volume with device dev-sda1, and the size is 8 gigs. If you want, you can increase the size of this volume as well. Let's make it 10. And what type of volume you need, whether you want general purpose SSD, whether you want provision IOPS SSD or magnetic standard. So magnetic standard is the traditional one. They are very slow. Let's go with the general purpose SSD unless you have a requirement of high IOs. If yes, select provision IOPS SSD. For now, we'll select general purpose SSD. With general purpose SSD, I get IOPS between 100 to 3000. I mean, it starts with 100, but in case if there are too many read and write IOPS on the machine, it could go up to 3000. Okay. This option, delete on termination. I have checked this box. What happens if I stop the VM? The volume will be there. However, if I terminate the instance, it will delete this volume as well. It will free up your EBS volume so that you will not be billed for LAN and encryption. If you whether you want to go ahead with the encryption or not, whether you want to encrypt this volume, it's for your choice. If needed, you can also add a new volume. Okay, for now, let's keep it simple. Let's keep it 1 and go ahead with the next option, that is add tags. The tags are basically very helpful. It helps you to categorize your OS. It becomes easy to filter them out. They consist a case sensitive key value pair. For example, name and then the name of the OS. Let's do it that way. For example, if I click on here add tag, let me type name and the value will be Ubuntu 16. Okay, let me create another tab. I'll type here OS and the value here is Linux. These tags, they will be added to your instance as well as to your volumes. Once that is done, if you want to add any further tag, go ahead and add it. Once you're done, hit configure security group. Security group is your firewall in AWS. You can define the inbound and outbound rules that this machine can use for network communication. Now, since this is the Linux OS, by default SSH is enabled. It has protocol TCP, the port is 22, and the only thing that you need to mention here is the source IP. It could be a range of IPs or it could be just one single IP. For testing purpose, I will leave it blank. However, it is recommended to give IP. If you read this point here, rules with source IP 0000/0 allow IP address to access your instance. We recommend setting security group rules to access from known IP addresses only. You don't want any unknown member or an unknown person access your VMs, right? Or access your instance. So set up rule. If you're not sure about your IP, select my IP and it will load your machine's IP address automatically. It loads the public IP address. Okay. For now, I'll just select custom, leave it to whatever it is. And description here, I'll just type SSH for admin purpose. Okay, and hit review and launch. Yep, it asked me to enter the CIDR block. Let me go ahead and do that for you. There is my CIDR block. Hit review and launch. On the screen, you get to review all the settings that you have done so far. If you want to make any change, this is your time. You can just click on edit AMI, edit instance type, and make the changes. Let's quickly see what all we have selected. This is Ubuntu server 1804, type is T2 micro, EBS only, 1 GB of memory, 1 vCPU, security group SSH with TCP protocol, source anywhere, instance details. We are just going to create one instance with VPC ID this is the default VPC ID that picked up. Storage, we've picked up the root volume, we changed the size to 10 gigs, here it is mentioned, and the tag that we added, it's name and OS. For name it's Ubuntu and OS it's Linux. Once that is done, go ahead and hit launch. Now this is an important option. Think of a lock and a key. It's a combination, right? You have a private key and a lock is to a door or to your instance. So think that in order for you to access that instance, you need that private key, right? So that only you will be able to access the instance. Now for this purpose, you need both. You need both the lock and the key. The same way is the key pair. It has a private and a public key. So the private key will be with you and the public key will be binded with your instance. Now let's go ahead and create a key pair. So I select on the option create a new key pair and I type Ubuntu. Download key pair. Remember to keep the key pair safely. We will need this key pair later in order to SSH the machine. I click launch instance. Now it is initiating the instance launch and will take a while. So let's go ahead and see how to connect to this instance once it is launched. We will be using the tool called as PuTTY. I need you to go on a browser and just type PuTTY download and hit enter. The first result that you see is putty.org. Click on the putty.org to download the software. So it is an SSH client that is used to establish a safe connection between your machine and the machine that you're going to access. Okay, so once you're on this page, click on download 64-bit. Mine is 64-bit, so in case if you are using a 32-bit OS, you might have to download the 32-bit. So the download is complete. Let's go ahead and install it. You don't need to make any changes, just go ahead with the default options. Alright, once that is done, go to your start and just type PuTTY. We first have to open the PuTTY gen, also known as PuTTY key generator, and the PEM key that we have downloaded, we need to convert that PEM key to a private key. So to do that, click on load key and go to the location where the key is downloaded. Select all files and it should be visible to you. Ubuntu.pem is private key. So it says successfully imported private key. You need to use the save private key commands to save it in PuTTY's own format. Click OK and click Save Private Key. It asks me, are you sure you want to save this key without a paraphrase to protect it? Hit yes. And just give the name Ubuntu Private Key. When that is done, you can close this. Now that we have the private key generated from PIM, let me show it to you once. Yeah, that's my private key. So we will go and open the tool, run the tool putty. Okay, now we need the host name and IP. Let's go back to the AWS console and check if the machine has launched or not. Okay, it still says initializing. I guess it will take a couple of more minutes to run, but that's fine. While it is trying to initialize, let's go ahead and copy the public IP address of this machine. Okay, you see those small clipboard icon, just click on it and it will be copied to your clipboard. Go back to your putty, paste the one that you just copied, and then click on SSH because we need to load that private key that we had just converted, remember? So click on auth and then private key file for authentication. Click on browse and import the private key that we had created, Ubuntu private key.ppk from my downloads location, right? So I just hit open. When that is done, go back to your session and you might want to save this, right? So Ubuntu new and just hit save. Now the status checks has 2 of 2 checks completed and the instance is running. So we are good to go ahead and start the machine or connect the instance. So click open. Hit no here. Cool. It is asking me to log in as. Remember, for Ubuntu the username is Ubuntu. Just hit Ubuntu. Just type Ubuntu and hit enter. Okay friends, so the authentication is completed and now we are connected to the machine. Let me show it to you. ls pwd. Okay, I am in the machine and I am accessing this machine on the putty through SSH session. Okay, now I'll just close this and let's quickly see some of the important information here. This is your public DNS IP address that you can always use to connect to your machine. This is not static as of now, so in case if you want a static, you might have to create dedicated VPC, a subnet, and then give that CIDR block. We will try to cover this in a different video. The public IP address of your VM is this. This is your instance ID. This is the type of the instance. This is the current state of the instance. This instance is currently in EU West 2A region of the AWS. The key pair name is Ubuntu. In case if you're not sure, you can go to key pairs and see the key pair. Okay, you can go on the volume and select and see the volume that is attached to your instance. This is the volume that we had created of 10 gigs. It says in use, and if you click on the attachment, it will take you back to the instance because that volume is attached to this instance. That is how you can verify the mapping between the volume and the instance. What's next? VPC. You can see the VPC ID here. It's a default. You can see the subnet ID as well. Another important, if you click on the tags, you see all the tags that are attached to this instance. I remember I also told you about the tags that will be added to the storage as well. So let's go on the volume and click on tags. So the same tag that you see for this storage as well. Let's go back to your EC2 dashboard and click, and under the resources now you see one running instance. Select the instance that is running and you see the tags. We are back on the tags page. Under monitoring, you get to see the resource utilization. You have CPU, you have disk reads, disk writes, disk read bytes, disk read operations, disk writes, network packets, and so on. Once your work is done, you can click on the actions and go to instance state. You can either stop this instance for now and reuse it and start it whenever you want to perform any testing or want to use it in further for any use, or just go ahead and terminate if you don't wish to use this instance again. I'll hit terminate. Terminate will delete this instance from my AWS console and it will also delete that volume that was attached to this instance. Remember, the termination of the instance takes around 60 to 120 minutes, so it takes its own sweet time, nothing to worry about. Okay? Alright friends, that is all for this video. I really hope you find this helpful. If you have any questions, put it in the comment and I'll try my best to answer those for you. Okay? Thank you so much for watching the video. Please do hit like and subscribe and do share. Cheers. Have a great day ahead. Bye.